started with a simple belief that every child deserves to learn the language of future. And today, Sakshi Gupta is rewriting what it means to be a tech educator and a change maker in India. Pleasure to have you, Sakshi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, share with us your journey. How did you start? How did you take the leap from being a tech educator to a founder?
I'm a software engineer by education, and I started my career, working in the software company, starting with Infosys. Then I had to take a career break in between because my kids were very young, so I had to spend time with them. I was working with a company who was, they were into teaching programming to kids. So I'm fortunate that I got this, side of the, learning as well, that, you can actually teach technology to kids as well. So yes, so
Right.
thanks to them. But I was working with them till 2022, August 2022. But being an engineer and being always an explorer, I always had a lot of ideas in my mind, which I really wanted to pursue. And somehow I thought that when I become a founder, when I start something of my own, I would get that leverage, and I would have the full freedom and opportunity to explore. So that was the reason I decided that, why not start something of your own? Yeah.
Oh, that's a great thought. So, what is the strength of the students that you have taught till date?
So honestly, I have taught more than 1,000 plus students. And
Right.
when I say students, those students are with me from many, many years.
Right.
There are so many students who have started when they were in grade 2 or 3, and now they are in grade 11 and 12 and even have passed out school. So I look at them as a relationship which I have developed, which I have nurtured with them. And I am not more like a coding instructor or an educator to them. I am more like a mentor to them. And even I have developed that bond with them that, I am really attached to them. Yeah. So that's there.
So,
Yeah.
how does this feels for you on a personal note?
So see, as I said that I get very attached to my students, and of course, learning is one thing, and I really focus on that. Teaching coding is something, which should not be very, very monotonous for me. It's something which, I believe in making them fall in love with technology. Okay, so that's what
Okay.
I try to make it very, very simple for them, so then they don't consider it as a taboo, or something which is very
Right.
hard to understand or hard to build or relate to. So that's what my focus has always been on, that to make it very, very easy. And wherein they not just not just technology, they can apply it in their all spheres of life,
Right.
be it in academic work, or be it in their other extracurricular. They could relate to whatever they are learning with. That's what.
All right. So, it's not just about mugging up, but to actually learn it and apply in real life situations as well,
Of
right?
course, of course. It's not at
Right.
all mugging up. It's always thinking. It's always, thinking of
Right.
solving a problem, identifying the
Right.
problem, and then working towards the solution of that problem.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So on that note, during your journey when you started, so what were the initial challenges? There might have been some. So what were the initial challenges?
So honestly, initial challenges were not, it was not to not have students. I had a
Right,
lot of students with me, but because I had students, I had a lot of work with me. So when you start something of your own, right, you're not just doing teaching. You have to also look
right,
into the
right,
curriculum. You also have to see how that theory concept can be applied to some practical learning, project based learning. So initial
mm,
challenge was, yes, because I started individually. I'm a solo entrepreneur. So yes, so managing everything on my own was a task, and that was the biggest challenge. Yeah, because I was managing everything, the social media marketing,
right, right.
the accounts, and everything. Yeah, that's what.
So since you were wearing all the hats, so let's talk about the term work-life balance. How has that been for you?
Okay, so I would not say that it's easy. Okay,
Right,
I
right.
would, but I would say it's not impossible also. Of course, you have to in life you have to figure out your priorities. Okay, so
Right,
for
right.
me, if you ask personally, I my family is my priority. Okay, and
Right.
of course, they come first, and first I have to be available for everything for them, and then parallelly, of course, I am looking to build something of my own. And I would
Hmm.
say that it's very important that your family, and you're lucky actually, you're blessed if you have a supporting family. So
Absolutely.
honestly, I have been lucky enough to have a very, very supportive family, and
Okay.
they let me balance everything. They understand what I go through and what is my importance. In handling different things. So yes, so it happens. You just take it one day at a time. That's what I feel.
And
Yeah, rather than having a 5 years or 10 years down the line, um, thing, I prefer one day at a time situation. And yeah, so that's what has been, it has kept me running so far. Yeah.
so, what has been the most excited thing and what has been the most unique thing about teaching technology to young minds?
Okay, so see, you need to meet a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old. So you know
Yes,
that my target audience is starting 6-year-olds till 21, 22-year-olds. They are my target I mean,
yes.
main primary audience. Of
Mhm.
course, I am
Audience, right?
open to teaching technology to even anybody who is keen to learn. But yes, so
Right.
children are really, really full of ideas and
Right.
imagination and imagination.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So something which you can't see from your point of view, it's very motivating and interesting to see it from their vision.
POV.
So
Right,
yes,
right.
so yeah.
Absolutely.
So I always look forward to, understanding their thought process, their ideas, even when we are participating in any competition, am I assisting in them any competitions, right? I don't tell them that you have to work on this idea. I look
Definitely.
forward to hear ideas from them, because
Okay.
maybe I don't have that. With age, you lose your perspectives. You don't have that
Right.
imagination and creativity as
Right.
compared to younger
Right,
child.
right, right. Right, right. Because we have been fed with a lot of information and data, so definitely that
Of course.
affects our thinking ability in some extent. Absolutely. So, according to that, in line to that, how do you design the curriculum that keeps those kids exciting about coding and trying new things, solving problems by themselves? So, how do you design the first step, the curriculum?
So, as I mentioned that, children are full of ideas, okay? And now to fulfill and to bring those ideas into picture, you need to have a balance of both theoretical learning as well as practical learning. So,
Right.
whenever I'm designing my curriculum, I try to, first build the core concept, because, to do anything in life, you need to have your content base very, very strong, right? So
Right,
definitely
right.
I never compromise on any theoretical aspects or the core building concept. So my curriculum is always based on first building the theory concepts, and plus
Right.
how those theory concepts can be applied to practical learning. So so that's how the curriculum is designed, that we understand the core concepts of programming, we see what all can be done with the help of programming, and then we are bringing, either we are utilizing it to build um, web applications or mobile applications or websites. So that's how the curriculum is made, so theory as well as the practical aspect, which
Okay.
showcases actually what they have learned. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So coming to the point, let's talk about AI. And you do you have been running AI workshops for students and for the learners. So now, since AI has been so much like it has ingrained so much in our daily life, how do you see it is reshaping the future, the children who are learning coding or I would say technology, any technology. So how do you see AI reshaping the future for those children in the coming 3 years, or I would say in the coming 5 years?
Okay. So I would say AI, I mean, in terms of both children and adults, so definitely when we talk about adults, adults are using AI tools, different AI tools. Everybody has started some or the other AI tools they are using. So
Right,
of course,
right.
it is increasing your, productivity, your efficiency is increasing, and you are able to finish your shows, faster. So definitely
Mhm.
that's there. Uh, but when I talk about children learning and using those AI tools, I would actually, look at from this perspective that it's good that they are using AI tools, but they should not let go of, building their core problem solving skills. That's
Right,
still very much needed. If you are
right.
using AI directly without understanding the core basics and,
Yes, definitely.
letting go of your critical thinking and your problem solving skills, I definitely don't support that. And I definitely want parents and students to think upon that if they don't build their base into something, it is going to be challenging going ahead. Of course, they'll be able to finish things faster. They'll be able to do a lot of things which earlier we were not able to do. But still, if they have a base in understanding, then it would be it will be really helping it to their benefit. Otherwise, it will, they might get lost in the transition. Yeah.
So they should not truly be devoted to AI rather than it should be used as a tool to help them accelerate their thinking ability, right?
Yes. So
Okay.
definitely, so
So,
you
right.
think it. So let's say, for example, when internet came into picture,
Yes.
programming, people were still doing programming even before the internet era, right? But when internet
Right,
came
right.
into picture, the Google came into picture, they were able to, so earlier when they were getting stuck in some let's say some coding problem, right? They could
Right.
not, they had to use their brain only. But when Google
Yeah.
came in, they could explore and they could research, but still they were doing it, still they were
Yes,
thinking about
yes.
it. Similarly, when
Right, right.
AI has come up, I say that use AI tool as an advantage, not as a
Yeah.
disadvantage, and not something to which you become totally dependent on, right?
Right,
Just
right,
still
right,
keep
right.
your problem solving, still keep your critical thinking and logical thinking alive and active, and then make use of AI. So then it can be a perfect balance for a child.
Right, because nowadays we do see a lot of courses which are being circulated, I would say on Instagram or on YouTube, like learn coding in just, I would say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes without coding, without learning coding, you can have your own website, build your website. So, do you see this as a fear that this might in future make the learners, or I would say the children who are at the learning stage, making coding a little bit obsolete for them?
So yes, yes, there are a lot of AI tools who are writing the code for you, building websites in two
Yeah,
minutes, and building apps in 5 minutes, and all those things are
right,
happening.
right,
So as I
right.
mentioned, so I teach a lot of my students' moms and students' parents as well, and I'm making them aware on AI tools. But I never
Yeah,
tell them that I want to teach this to your child, because I
yeah,
don't want them to take that path in which they are just going and building websites and
right.
the applications directly through AI.
Applications. Right,
So yes,
right,
so it's definitely actually food for thought that you have to not let go of your imagination. You don't have to let go of your
right,
creativity, because if they
right.
become totally dependent on AI for doing every single thing, they are killing. They will not realize it in the short run, but in the
Slowly,
long
right,
run, they would definitely come to the senses that they have actually not done any good for themselves. Yes. So I
right,
don't
right,
suggest, for children, I would suggest go through the hard way of learning, building your basics, think about problem solving, and then get
right,
into, using AI tools. Yeah.
right.
So
Okay, absolutely. That's a great thought. So, we have seen in a lot of your videos, you're very vocal about girls belonging in science and in technology. Uh, how do you feel that advocacy look like on the ground for code minors?
So honestly, I have a lot of girl students, I do have a lot of girl students, and I definitely, so it's not something, I mean, of course, it's not something I prefer girl students only, or I'm not preferring boy students,
Right,
nothing
right,
like that. Of
right,
course,
right,
as I said, that who is keen, I am always available for
right,
them.
right,
And
right, right.
yes, yeah. And yes, but I believe that like how still when I go out and see in the, industry, I see that very few girls are coming into tech still, I did
Right.
my engineering 20 years back, and now still the scenario is same. So definitely
Same.
I have that feel that, I need to promote more and more girls, because, we have that mindset that, technology is not for girls, and
Right,
the coding is not for girls. So I actually want to break that mindset, and I do advocate that, anybody, and honestly, I would say girls are more sincere sometimes in doing things, and
right,
to get those things done is easier with girls. So yes, so definitely I do believe in educating girls in technology, so then that fear, and that mindset
right,
of learning technology goes away. Yeah.
right, right. So, congratulations for winning the Advaita Women Entrepreneurs Award. So, how was the feedback? How did you feel? What was the feeling?
So actually, so see, the feeling was very good actually, and I was not expecting, the award. Definitely, I was not expecting, because see, as the founder maybe, or as an educator, my intention is always on the work more,
Right,
and
right,
I want to, I want to see children learning more, rather than how things are going in parallel for me. So I've
right,
always
right.
believed in that, and but definitely all thanks to you guys, so then I don't know how you identified and how you came across me, and it was completely a good, it was completely a pleasure to be there, and the way it was organized, the way the people I got to meet over there was really overwhelming, and it's a
All
privilege.
thanks to you and other women leaders. This is our existence, all because of you.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
on that win and on that note, on that achievement, what piece of advice would you say to young women leaders sitting on the fence of starting something in technology, something on their own, maybe in other industry as well as? So,
Mhm.
what is one piece of advice would you give?
Okay, so first of all, I would say that don't doubt yourself or anything, because and don't think that if I'm not working right now, or if I have not done anything right now, I cannot do it ahead. So
Right,
I never thought of, honestly, I never thought I'll be a founder of a company, I'll be an entrepreneur, because I had done my engineering, and then the career path was into the corporate only. So first of
yeah,
all, I would say, you keep your possibilities open. You never know where you land up. Of course,
right,
you have to be dedicated. You have to be hardworking. Things won't come easy, directly. You have to work towards it, but don't have any inhibitions. And that if I will not be doing this work, I'll not be doing that work. That's not what I have believed in. I have done everything, and that's where, I mean, whatever I have reached so far, I have reached because I have not stopped myself from doing anything. So I have worked towards
right.
it. So my advice is, be open in your thought process, and explore different possibilities. Be consistent. Definitely be consistent, and be persistent as well. Yeah. So that's what
Okay.
my advice to young entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Right. So with that effort, you started as a solo entrepreneur. Now you have a team of, I would say, tech educators.
Yes.
So where do you see code miners in the next 3 years? What are the plans?
Okay. So, honestly, through code miners, I am not talking about growing in numbers right now. I would want code miners to be growing in the quality of work.
Quality, right,
So, quality of work. I don't want code miners to be something, which is in 50 different cities and, different countries. I believe in good quality of work, and if quality is maintained and if learning is delivered, then definitely things come on its own.
yeah,
So
yeah,
so that's what I believe in. So I see code miners doing really good work, and code miners also believe in going to people who cannot really afford learning technology. So I want more and more educators to be participating with me in the same thing,
right.
wherein we are expanding and we are making coding accessible to each and everyone. That's what I believe.
Wow,
Yeah. So that's
that's
what
a good
my
thought.
vision of code miners is. Yes.
All right, all right. So, what is the one thing about the Indian edtech space that excites you, and one thing that worries you?
So, the thing which excites me is the possibility of learning. You have so much to learn these days,
Right,
and
right, right,
it's changing every single day. So you will feel that, okay, I have learned this and that, but next day it is going to change, right? So
right,
the this is really exciting that you have a new content to learn every single day, and that keeps me motivating and running and think forward. The
right,
thing
right,
which I am really worried about, as mentioned earlier, that I don't want kids or parents to lose the the content aspect of learning technology and become dependent on AI for everything. I still want
right,
them, so then the quality of the core concepts do not die down. That's what I believe in, and that's what my fear is, that maybe for the short term, parents would not be thinking about learning and building their problem solving skills and logical thinking skills. They would
right,
want to see the product, huh? So that's what I see in the industry, that many of the people are focused on more on the product side of it, whether they
right.
are whether the child knows about it or not. They
Mhm.
don't, I mean, it does not matter much to them.
Not really good,
They are
right,
more focused on whether the children are getting credited over here or there. So
right, right,
that's what I believe, that if a child is doing something, child should understand and child should be able to relate to the same. So
right,
yeah,
right.
so that's my fear, that that should not die down actually. Yeah.
Should not be a task, it should be a learning journey.
It should be something they really look forward to.
Forward.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
All right. So we have covered major of the questions, and definitely all the best to your journey. And a last question before winding up the interview, a last question from my end. On personal note, on personal journey, what developments you want to do in the coming future? Where do
In
you
code.
want to see yourself now?
So as I mentioned, I want to really, focus on, um, so see, there is so much learning happening, there's so much learning
Right, right,
happening. And so definitely I want to impart that education, that learning to more and more people. That's one of my, and so then they become independent, and they get rid of that fear of learning technology, and then they get comfortable with the technology. So
right,
that's
right.
my, yeah, that's what my main focus is. And definitely, what they are learning, they should be using it for the betterment of the society. That's where the real challenge and the real demand comes in the future. Yeah.
Well, salute to your approach of just doing the right things, doing the good things without thinking about the fruits. I
Thank
really salute your approach. And thank you
you.
so much, Sakshi.